Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Montana. Today we're going to be taking a train from Shelby to Blackfish on the Burlington Northern. I imagine this is circa early 1980s, mid 1970s. And we're using the standard ST40-2s that come with the BN pack that is available. But the only difference is I'm using Searchlight Simulations EMD 643. I think it's the E3 sound pack, which adds a couple of extra small enhancements such as different smoke and a different shade light or headlamp. So it's pretty cool. So I decided to split this up into two parts because it's kind of a, I don't want to say boring stretch of railroad, but I really like it because it's very grady, very curvy. You're going upgrade quite a bit, and it levels out in some sections here, but there's a lot of just empty field, and a lot of the shots you'll see are of the train struggling up some of the grades that we'll be facing. But beyond that, we don't have a whole lot of meets. I think there are at least, if you count the intro meet, there are at least 2 in this video. Or 3, actually. Yeah, there's about 3. So not a whole lot of activity, but it's a fun scenario. It's very relaxing to just sit here and just watch the scenery, virtual scenery roll by. You know, that sort of thing. You should be used to this by now if you've been on my channel for any period of time. But gosh, I love this sound pack. And see, this is full, I'm in full notch 8, full throttle. From leaving the yard at Shelby to this point, which is probably a good 10 miles out at this point. Maybe a little more. It's not quite 20, but you see, I took a picture right there, and for some reason it just, the frames dropped so bad that it just froze. I have to apologize because I don't have the best specs for recording this game. I'm already recording it as low as possible and still trying to get it HD. But yeah, we've got a loaded intermodal. We've got 3 SD40-2s. Although the interesting thing with the Searchlight Simulation Enhancement mod, the locomotives don't correspond with the lead. I'm pretty sure the other 2 are in idle, or at least they're making sounds like they are in idle. But I don't think that they are. And you have to manually select what you want them to do, which isn't incredibly realistic. But, okay. I don't know, maybe there's something I'm missing. I need to go back and read their manual to see what it is I missed. But it's a beautiful day in Montana. The skies are, well, I was going to say clear, but you can see clouds, so that's clearly not true. Yeah, clearly. Also, I forgot to add my watermark to the bottom right. You'll see that in the next couple scenes that it'll return. Also, not a big fan of this horn. I don't know which one this is out of the 2 that they give you. I want to say that it's the Leslie, but not entirely sure. It still sounds better than the default horn, of course. But if I had it my way, we'd have a P5 on it, but I'm not going through the headache of trying to install one of those because, boy, let me tell you, these horn swaps are difficult, to say the least. Some of them are easy because of the way they're packaged, but others, oh man, it's a headache and a half. So, I'm not bothering with that. No, sir. It's one of the things I wish was easier about this game, or at least the way that people who make horn swaps package their horns. Yeah, just saying. Got a little bump there by the looks of things. Don't really know what that was about, but as long as our train's okay. And here I'm keeping a very watchful eye for whistle signs, like that one right there, just so I can time the horn right with the crossings. It doesn't really affect your overall score of this scenario, it's just a thing I like to do. I like to imagine myself as a professional in this situation, even though I'm not a real-life engineer. Oh, don't I wish. It's a bad time to get into engineering, though, from what I'm hearing. Locomotive engineering, I should clarify. Just because the way that they want you to run is just so robotic. I keep hearing that same thing. But anyways, we're coming up on our first break. No commentary break, so enjoy some of the scenery, and I'll see you guys a little bit later. Okay, I'm back to briefly point out we had another meet here. This is our second meet of the run. And it's a grain train similar to the one we saw in the intro. Very nice. I don't know how realistic it is that they're all BN green cars apart from maybe 2 or 3 white cars mixed in between every 10 or so BN hoppers, but hey, is what it is. I'm pretty sure it's a grain train, although it could be a cement train. But that's the most common traffic we'll see here. So, pretty cool, pretty neat. Enjoy the rest of the scenery. Okay, and we're back here. We're actually on a downhill leg. We were struggling upgrade, as you could see in some of the scenes before, and now we're just going downgrade. Because we're coming into a yard here and a depot, so we're going to have to crawl through. I had to drop the throttle and apply the brake, and it was really responsive. I don't know if that's the searchlight enhancement or the way that things are set up here, but yeah, I wanted to show that the locomotive is running in pretty much idle here, just letting it roll down the hill. Just letting gravity do the work. But yeah, the brakes were very responsive. I didn't even have to go into dynamics. Maybe it's because the grade down isn't really that steep, even though it's almost 1%. I don't know. Either way, I'm not complaining because it makes my job easier. Coming up on another crossing. And in this yard is actually where there's another scenario where you assemble a grain train and take it further down the line. And I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. I've done this scenario before, but I've never really made it this far. Either because I've gotten bored or wanted to move on to something else. Because this is a long scenario. Most of these are in this game. It's very rare that I'll stick out a scenario for something other than a video. And if I know it's going to be long, I have to dedicate time to just sitting here and effectively letting the scenery roll by. 'Tis the life of an engineer, well, at least part of it. There's a lot of stuff you don't have to do that in real life you'd have to. So I was saying earlier, yeah, now is not a good time to work for the railroads from what I'm hearing, and maybe somebody could correct me on this, but they're saying that the rules are very stringent compared to what they used to be, even in the 90s. You know, they're so... I've heard the term that they basically just hire to fire. They keep looking for you to make a mistake, and that doesn't bode well for confidence for people who want to get into railroading. So I don't know what they're going to do about it, but it could be a case of any industry where there's just people who didn't know what they were getting into and got in over their heads and thought that the railroads want them to work too hard. I don't know. I'm sure there are people who are... Obviously, there are people who are happy working on the railroad, otherwise they wouldn't be there. But I think it's now a... Whoa! I don't know what I did there. Oh yeah, that's right. I was trying to find the final destination on the map to see how far away it was. So, because that cut of cars was in the way, it sort of messed with the camera. But anyways, yeah. I feel like it could be a case of both being true. It could be disgruntled employees, but it also could be genuine poor employee treatment. But it really just doesn't... As a rail fan, it doesn't make me want to sign up to be a part of a railroad other than maybe a short line. For me, in my area, it would be Norfolk Southern. And then there's a couple of other short lines, but even then, I'm not sure. And I think with the Class 1 railroads, it's probably because they're making so much money and they're being run by just cutthroat businessmen. But still, to me, that's no real excuse to treat your employees like they're robots and expect near perfection out of them, because they're going to make mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen on the railroad. Obviously, you want to do everything safely and everything right, but nothing is perfect. Nobody's perfect. Another crossing here. We just passed that yard where you, in another scenario, pick up a cut of hoppers. And here's the depot. I change the camera here to see if I can catch the name of the town. And from here I can't see it. But anyways, that's where we are. You can see it better than I can in the preview window. That's the Amtrak depot. We started off at the Shelby Amtrak depot. But we're getting closer to the end here of part 1. I don't know how long part 2 is going to be, how long it's going to take. I might try to shorten it and cut out a lot more of the less interesting stuff. So I think you guys got a pretty good idea of the scenery that we'll be seeing. So I could probably streamline that a little bit. I hope you guys like the new intro too, that's brand new. I think it works pretty well, at least for train simulator videos. I'm going to try to do variants of it for different types of scenarios and for different types of videos. When I do live action rail fanning, I'm going to try to make a live action intro, but I don't have any footage I can really use yet. But I'm going to try. It's just a question of getting out there. It's so hard to chase trains in this area. Very small Norfolk Southern branch line. And there's no set time for when trains really come through. You have a nice little bridge here. I thought I'd take a screenshot. Still not sure which one I'm going to use for the thumbnail, but whatever it is, it is. But I thought that was a nice shot. Nice little bridge there. So what you're going to notice here is that eventually, I think once we get just a little past this signal, the grade starts going uphill again. So I'm going to start to apply throttle. You can see it on the chart down below, which I really like. But I'm keeping it in idle so that way it doesn't go over 30 miles an hour. But once my train clears the speed marker there, and I start to throttle up gradually. At first I don't think I need to do it much because the grade doesn't seem that steep. But as it turns out, it actually goes up pretty steep. And then we're going to have our third and final meet of this video, or of this section, this part of the video. I don't know if there'll be any in part 2 or not. I haven't recorded that yet. I sort of saved the scenario and quit out, so I'll have to start a whole new section of the scenario where I left off here. I think there's a meet coming up. I'm not sure. Do I leave that in? Or am I just remembering wrong? I don't know, we'll see, because if it does happen, it's right up here. No, I was right, you can sort of see it off in the distance. As we get by this crossing here. So yeah, we're going upgrade now, and you can tell because the train is really struggling. Kind of strange how it sort of is like a dip and then it goes uphill, kind of like a U-shaped. But I like it. Makes it so you're not just going straight uphill and straight downhill, it's a little bit of in between. Starting to notch up here. Alright folks, that's going to do it for part 1, and I will see you guys in part 2 where we continue this journey to Blackfish. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Orange Cactus Productions, and I will see you guys on the High Iron next time. God bless. Have a good one. Peace.